Good evening and welcome to the Speakers Corner UK channel. It's been a long time since we've done a review, and I am delighted to have with me the famous Stop Spamming and Drastic Measures Islam. Both of these gentlemen are critics of Islam with a great deal of knowledge, and it's an absolute pleasure to have them here with me, where we're going to do a review of this particular video, You're Arrogant, Ali Dawah versus Atheist. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Good evening. Hello.
Hey, yeah, I'm doing very well, thanks. Really nice to be here with both of you tonight, and it's always fun to pick apart one of Ali Dawah's, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yes, he sort of is. There's always content with Ali Dawah saying something silly.
He never stops giving.
No, exactly. So it's great to see you guys, and we haven't been together for quite some time, so it's good. Cool, guys. So here's the video. I think without further ado, let's get into this.
Infinite universe with no start point. It cannot be created.
Come on, mate. Come on. James.
Energy could neither be created nor destroyed.
That's the first term of
And that's in a closed system as well.
Okay.
That's an isolated system.
Yeah.
And also it doesn't show,
Okay.
it actually shows.
Where's the evidence that the universe was created?
Very simple.
Where's the start?
Very
Where's the
simple.
start point?
Very simple.
Where's
you,
the start?
You claim that the universe is infinite.
I believe that
Where's
the
your
evidence suggests
okay.
that the universe
Where is your evidence?
Okay, so quick one there. You guys can hear that okay, I trust?
Yep, come through well.
It's a bit jerky. What I gathered is the guy is saying that the universe is eternal.
Yeah, he believes that he
he's saying-
said there.
Yeah. I think he's saying all the evidence suggests it, and basically there's not any evidence to suggest it's created.
Because he
I'm not sure he
also
went
says
quite
energy
that
cannot
far.
be
Go on.
created or destroyed. And then the one guy says, yeah, but this is only in a closed system. No. I think he's talking about the laws of thermodynamics and mixing this up with the energy itself. So there's a couple of things here which are a little bit off.
Yeah, I think he's mixed up the first and the second law. The first law being that energy can't be created or destroyed, and the second law, I think, is everything that tends towards entropy, but that's only within a closed system. So you're right. I think
Right,
it's mixed those
exactly.
two up.
The other thing this fella's saying, which I think certainly I would be a bit careful of saying, is that he thinks that the universe is eternal. But if you are going to say that, and look, if you feel confident you can say that, great, then you're going to have to make the case for that. I tend to be agnostic about universal origins, especially after watching lots of Skydive Full videos and speaking to other people. So shout out to Skydive Full if you want to know more about the universe, and from some of the top people in the world, that he's got an amazing channel where he does that. So I'd be agnostic on universal origins. That way, I'm not obligated to make an argument, because it's not clear to me that one is more likely than the other, because I don't know that there's scientific consensus on the matter. But if this atheist fellow is going to make the claim, then yes, he is obligated to give, reasons why it's more likely, or that it's not possible for the universe to have the beginning or whatever. So I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts on universal origins personally?
I sometimes do that. I tell people, well, if you are going to take a supernatural being as being eternal, then I might as well posit that the universe is. So what I'm doing is I'm juxtaposing the one, and I don't know, I'm putting it up as a counter sort of position, where I say, if you say, tit, I'll say tat. So if you say it's a, I don't know, supernatural entity or independent or God or whatever you want to call it, I can also say, well, theoretically, then the universe. Why create something else as a go-between? We don't need it. So I'm putting up the theoretical position that the universe is in fact eternal. I can say this with the same level of confidence as you are saying your God is eternal. So this is what I'm sometimes doing.
Yeah, I kind of agree with both of you there. I think if you're going to say that a creator is eternal, I think there's less problems with saying the universe could be eternal. But I would also agree with Rob that you don't necessarily need to go that far. I think it's reasonable to sort of remain agnostic on it, because, as you say, there are different kind of scientific hypotheses about it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's see what happens now. At this point, if I were one of the Muslims, I'd be asking him to give good reasons why he thinks the universe is eternal, right? So actually, because he made the positive statement, he would now have to back this up. So I'm a bit careful. If I've got a good argument, then I will make the claim. Like I make the claim that I think God is impossible. Actually, I make a very strong claim. but then I've got what I think is a very strong argument, and I'm very familiar with all the responses and how to deal with them. But if you aren't, then you might be caught out. So let's see. I don't know this gentleman. I've never seen him before, so I don't know if he's just somebody that popped by or he's now somebody that goes there regularly. I don't know. So let's see what he has to say.
So the universe is infinite. We don't have any such thing as infinite in the real world.
Because all we've been able to do is trace the universe back to an earliest point, like billions and billions of years ago.
Which shows it's not infinite.
How? We've been able to trace back to an early point. We do not know what came before that.
Okay.
Okay, do you notice there, Ali jumps the gun. Instead of waiting for him to give the argument, Ali jumped in and said, well, that doesn't show that it's infinite. And so now he's asked Ali, well, why is that the case, right? So now Ali has got to justify it. It's funny when you jump in too quickly. Now you have to justify it when, he hasn't actually given a justification yet.
Yeah, but he's also retracting.
Yeah. I think it's because he's on his script as well, isn't he? He's got his set script. And he's eager to get into it, so he'll kind of jump the gun like that.
But the guy on the left also retracted now, saying we don't know what happened before the initial trigger or whatever you want to call it, the Big Bang. So first he said it's eternal, and now he says, well, we don't know. So I don't know what his story is.
Well, I think he was saying he believed it to be eternal, but I think it's reasonable that you could say, well, okay, this is what I think is most likely, but I don't know. I think that's a reasonable position to hold.
We've been able to trace back to an early point. We do not know what came before that.
Okay. Can you demonstrate?
We've never been able to demonstrate.
This is where he says we don't know what happened before that.
We've never been able to demonstrate.
Yeah. Okay, well now, so then to say the universe is eternal, now you do seem to be saying two different things, right? If we don't know what's before it, then why would you think it's eternal, right? That's exactly the question here. Yeah, good.
We've never been able to demonstrate something coming from nothing. Yeah? So there's your evidence.
Well, you wouldn't
We've never been able
living...
to demonstrate something coming from nothing. So all the evidence leads us to believe that the universe, if it did not come from nothing, has always existed as something.
No. Can something come from nothing? Can something come from nothing?
He just said we don't think that anything can come from nothing. And his rationale, the atheist guy's rationale is, well, if something can't come from nothing and the universe is here, then it's, his intuition or his, view is it must have always existed. And now Ali asks, can something come from nothing? He just said he doesn't think something can come from nothing or it's not been demonstrated. Like he's not listening.
But this is what Drastic said. He's on a script. I mean, you can't change it.
Well, he doesn't listen. Fundamentally, he doesn't listen. So.
That's right.
Not until we've demonstrated it can. Maybe it can, maybe it can't.
Mathematically. So
what was that, Stops?
Mathematically. Can something come from nothing mathematically?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you're going to demonstrate that mathematically. And then somebody in the background there said something about it smoke. Did you hear that? Did you hear the onlooker said something about it smoke in the Quran? Smoke in the Quran or something.
So stupid. My God.
Yeah, he is a bit of a clown.
Equal one mathematically.
0 times 0 equals to 0. 0 plus 0, 0. 0 minus 0. In all instances,
0 divided by 0.
Is 0.
And what's 0 divided by 0, bro?
Nothing always
Infinity.
equals to nothing.
Infinity.
Nothing always equals to
divided by
nothing.
That was quite funny. Sorry, just to stop that. But yeah, when he's doing the 0 plus 0, 0 minus 0, and then it's like, what's 0 divided by 0? It is infinity. So even within that stupid little point he's trying to make, he's already defeated himself, which I just think is hilarious. You can tell he's Dawah in training to make such a basic error.
You really don't bring in mathematics unless you know what you're talking about there. That's the last thing you should be doing, right?
I mean, I would never touch it. I mean, at best, I'm rudimentary on mathematics. I would never risk trying to get in deep on maths, unless you are an expert. You're just going to make a fool.
The only thing I would say on this topic is that Cantor showed that you can have infinite sets, right? But you can have larger and smaller infinite sets. And this is very counterintuitive to people. And it's just a line of sort of reasoning and so forth that I don't go down. I've tried this once or twice before, and it's just ended up people don't understand. It's not something that I have expertise in. I just stay away from this idea of the kind of infinite, especially if you're talking about mathematics.
Zero divided by zero.
Your problem in mathematics, there is a potential infinite. I'm asking you in the real world. I'm not abstract. Can you tell me, can something come from nothing? Rationally, logically. You seem like an intelligent man.
Our current understanding says no.
It wouldn't. So it wouldn't. Okay, good. The fact that something cannot come from nothing shows that it had a beginning. If it has a beginning, it can't be.
No, it doesn't show that as a beginning.
Okay.
Because there's still a possibility it could be infinite.
No, it can't.
We've demonstrated some possibility examples where the universe could be infinite.
What's your name?
The Big Crunch is one of those setting
James, if you say to me from nothing something cannot come, you have now demonstrated that there was a point of beginning. If you say
no, or it's infinite.
No, he hasn't. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Or it can be infinite. I mean, that's such a basic mistake from Ali there to say that if you can't demonstrate, if something can't come from nothing, then it can't be infinite. No, it could suggest that it is infinite. It's always been there. That's why it hasn't come from something. So, I mean, he's really operating at a low level on this one. But I mean, to be fair, the atheist guy did immediately correct him there, so that was good.
But I've just got something you guys here, interestingly enough, right? Because it's in Skydive's video anyway. We've got to be what the atheist fella isn't doing here is asking Ali what he means by nothing. And typically, what a theist means by nothing is the absence of anything, right? Some sort of conceptual idea. And my question is for them, and I've never heard a good answer to this, why would we need to accept that idea, right? The kind of maybe Aristotelian type idea, because even whatever Aristotle or any of those people thought, some sort of void, well, a void isn't nothing, right? There's virtual particles at the very least, etc. So this idea of an absolute nothing in and of itself is an idea that the atheist doesn't have to accept, number one. But suppose that we take a version of nothing. We say, okay, what we mean by nothing, and I've got Alexander Vilenkin, right? He's one of the foremost physicists, Stops has dropped out there. Hopefully he will come back in again. But Alexander Vilenkin is one of the foremost cosmologists, and the theists normally appeal to him. And so, here's what he says, quote, and I've got the exact quote here from Scott Arfill's video, right? When we say nothing in this context, tunneling from nothing, we don't mean a quantum vacuum. Here we have a state of space complete. Here we have a state without space completely. So there is no vacuum, right? So that's a quote from his video directly. So this idea about the something from nothing is a bit more nuanced than what you're saying, but you're quite right as well. Either something had a beginning or it didn't, right? And typically it didn't, meaning something like it's eternal. So, but Ali, as you guys have pointed out, it's just on his script, right? Of something can't come from nothing. And he's appealing to people's intuition, right? Because we don't see it happening around us. Therefore, we have this inductive idea that it either couldn't or would never happen, right? So, but the other question to ask Ali is, are you saying that due to our observations around us, that we should reasonably infer that the universe didn't have a beginning? Or are you saying that it's impossible for the universe to have a beginning? So that's one thing you could do with theists, is to clarify what do they mean about this. Are they saying it's impossible or just that it's unlikely? Whatever they say, they're going to have to give an argument for it.
Let's go with nothing. You said from nothing, nothing comes. Good.
Yeah.
So therefore, something cannot come from nothing. Nothing is the absence of something. Therefore, if you accept that, it already debunks this point, which is infinite.
No, incorrect.
Okay, tell me why it's incorrect.
You're suggesting that it had a start point, okay,
which is it cannot come from nothing. You've accepted it, which debunks the point of infinity.
So I'm saying there's two possibilities.
Yep.
Either.
Yeah, I mean, he's just repeated the same mistake.
Yeah, but I don't understand. If he says the universe is infinite, he's not saying it's nothing. I think Ali Dawah is really not listening at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes no sense. To say that something can't come from nothing has no bearing on whether something can be infinite or not. They're two different things.
Exactly.
And he's conflating them. And he's just done this twice now, even though the atheists explained, no, that's not the case. You could still potentially have something infinite. And he's just repeated the same nonsense.
Exactly.
So.
And by the way, it just for completeness sake, the Quran does say that the universe came from nothing, that humans are made from nothing. So there's a lot of mistakes. I just made a TikTok short where I interviewed a Muslim who did exactly the same thing. I asked him, okay, can something come from nothing? No, nothing can come from nothing. Nothing can come from nothing. Nothing can come from nothing. And then I asked him, where does the universe come from? He says, from nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Because if you ask a Muslim, and I've done this many times, I say, what did God make the universe out of? Well, there either had to be something there, or God made it out of nothing. And considering the universe supposedly wasn't there, that means God made the universe from nothing. So they're
exactly,
actually
it's flabbergasted. I mean, it's crazy how this guy tells me 10 times in a row nothing can come from nothing, and I ask him one single question, and he says from nothing. You know, it's like scripted. Like if you want to make a fool of someone, if you want to make a satire or something, this is the way that it's built up, and this guy didn't even realize what he was doing.
It is almost like a comedy sketch now.
It is, yeah.
Over and over again. I just want to quickly say hello to Banksy because he's in the chat as well. Nice to see you there, mate.
Hey to Banksy and Tedious Dave.
Oh,
cool.
People
Let's
are
see
still
what else.
connected to the old channels. Wow, great.
Yeah, it's good to see that it's popping up for them, so that's good. Let's see what else Ali Dawah's got to say.
That it had a start point where it did not come from nothing and it creates an infinite chain unless you apply, but we know that argument. Or the thing itself is infinite. So you either have a start point where it's created or it's infinite because something can come from nothing. So they're the only two possibilities.
Good.
It's either infinite and it did not come from nothing because it is infinite, or it was created. They're the only two possibilities.
Okay, good. So let's go with one of the possibilities. The first one, can something come from nothing? You said no. Therefore, you have now accepted that if it cannot come from nothing, it came from something.
It did not come from.
1 second.
That's the point, right?
That's
the point, right?
That's assuming
it
that
doesn't have to come from something. Exactly. Yeah. He's assuming that it has to come from. If it doesn't come from nothing, it must. You see how he's got it built in there. It must come from something. Well, what the atheist guys actually say, that quote coming from something is that it's eternal. It's maybe you're using the Roger Penrose model or whatever other model you're appealing to. It's coming from a previous state, right? That state is coming from a previous state ad infinitum, and that's eternal. So that's what you could say. And if they're going to deny that, well, now they have to show that can't happen.
Listen to me carefully. You cannot say it did not come from something at all. I'm saying, can something come from nothing? You're saying no.
Your language is mistaken.
My language is English. It cannot be mistaken. Now,
when you say comes from, you're implying a start automatically.
Of
you
course.
say he can't be mistaken. and he titles this video that the atheist is arrogant. I mean,
but the atheist is quite right, as you guys are pointing out, and he's pointed out the problem with Ali. Exactly there, what he said. He's pointed out the problem that you're building in that this must come from something, i.e., that it has a start, right? That's what Ali Dawah was attempting to push on him, and he sort of picked that up and go, no. You know, you're implying that it has a start when you say come from.
Yeah, he's front-loaded the question as if there isn't any other possibility.
That's right.
And the atheist has explained that there is another possibility, and Ali's got nothing to refute that. So
that's right. Yeah, it's a leading question or a loaded question. One of those two. I need to look them up again. But yeah, that question is not a neutral question.
Something come from nothing, and you say no, it can't. You have accepted the fact that something gave rise to it.
So either it does not come from nothing, or it doesn't come at all.
No, brother.
You're begging the question by saying coming.
Brother, I'm going to use a different argument. It's not working. Let's go to the argument.
It's not working because you're misunderstanding him. So it's not as if you need to do anything different. I mean, this is amusing, isn't it? But I think we're just sort of breaking down Ali Dawah's sort of lack of cognitive ability to follow along. And as you quite rightly said, Drastic, this is just on a script, right? So something can't come from nothing. The opponent will say some words, and Ali Dawah will then just ignore what's being said and just repeat something can't come from nothing and give some sort of faulty analogy.
Well, he just said it right there. I mean, he just said, "Oh, I'll try something else because it's not working." Yeah, there's a reason it's not working, because your questions are fundamentally flawed. They're conceptually weak. This is why it's not working. So rather than he seems annoyed about it. Rather than be annoyed, why don't you actually frame your questions better than you're doing?
Well, we've got to remember something with Ali Dawah anyway, right? He's not there to learn. He's there as a propagandist, right? He's got a little script that's this as far as his cognitive ability can go, and he's going to push this, and he's going to hope that his gullible viewers are just as uninformed as he is, and it's going to somehow make sense to them, and they're either not going to understand or they're just going to ignore what the atheist is saying in response here. So I think that's what's really going on here. The other guy I've spoken to there, I think his name is Hamza, actually, the guy closer to the camera, and he's slightly better. I think he's also kind of not high tier, but he's certainly a more reasonable interlocutor. So it'd be good if we heard from him. I don't remember if he comes in on this video, but Ali Dawah, of course, is kind of a lost cause. I think the only thing you do there is for entertainment or amusement, but you're not going to get any sort of serious discussion from him.
April Cox in the chat says, not trying to be funny, but does Ali Dawah have a learning disability? I don't know if he's got a learning disability. He's certainly got a listening disability. That I do know. Whether he's actually got anything else, not sure.
No, but it's a comprehension thing. He doesn't comprehend these things. His brain is incapable of processing the information that he is receiving.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to the script thing, though, doesn't it? I mean, the problem is that, like Rob's saying, he's not there to learn anything. And even, I've noticed this with Dawah apologists, when they learn something, whether it's cosmology or whether it's history or logic, they're not really learning the topic the way that you or I would, to actually increase your knowledge. They're using it purely for apologetics. So they cherry pick kind of scripted bits and they don't really understand the topic. If you sat down and had a conversation on cosmology with Ali Dawah that went 1 degree off the script, he wouldn't know what he was talking about. And I think it's true on every topic because they don't want to learn. They just want to cherry pick for the script.
Yeah. All right, let's see what happens.
Contingency. There are three types of existence. There is impossible existence, there is possible existence, and there is necessary existence. I'm going to demonstrate each one of them to you. Impossible existence is, can you have a triangle square?
No.
Good. So that's an impossible existence. We say bye-bye to that. The two only existences we're left with is possible existence, contingent existence, and necessary existence. Now, my definition of a contingent existence is that something that relies on something else for its existence. You, for example, and me, we require food, water, shelter, warmth to survive. Good. Our solar system, the gravitational force, our planet, our galaxy requires other elements in order for it to survive. Good. Now, we believe that you cannot have an infinite regress of dependent things. Do you accept that the universe is dependent or independent?
No, I believe you can't have an infinite regress. So you have to imply an infinite timescale to something.
Okay,
You're
good.
applying that to your creator. I'm applying it to the
I haven't said no
universe.
creator yet.
Okay, so that was interesting there. I mean, Ali Dawah, you learned a few new words, and they do these, for people who don't know, they do these Dawah, and I've actually seen a video of it years ago. I saw Hijab teaching, of all people, teaching like this class, this Dawah class, and Ali Dawah was in the audience there. And
I saw that, yeah, that was hilarious.
Oh, you've seen it, yeah. It's kind of amusing. So they do this, right? So he's learned some new words. I bet you if you had to ask him a little bit more about his understanding of them, he'd be pretty clueless on it. I mean, but now on to what the atheist actually said there, right? Ali Dawah says you can't have, infinite regress. This is typical. This is the typical theist response. Now, first he said, no, I agree, or he said some words to that effect, but then he seems to be saying now that, no, you can have it. So how did you guys understand what the atheist said there?
I heard him say you can't have an infinite regress. There has to be some kind of time scale or something like that.
Infinite time scale, I think he said, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I would disagree with him to say that not necessarily you can't have an infinite regress. I think it's a possibility, but that just might be his personal opinion on it. So I'm not going to chew him out too much, but I wouldn't have been that strong on it. I would say maybe you can have an infinite regress.
Well, it's just that an infinite regress doesn't make sense. So you need to have a break. So what you see, this is always a difference that I see. What theists are saying, or what Davagandists are saying is, okay, the break is our God. So it goes on and on and on. So everything is created. So we are created, we are dependent, and up to the universe, dependent, created. And then we put a stop to it with our God. And what they don't understand is what the atheist is doing here. He's saying, well, no, we can go and put the stop one step earlier. We don't need to insert a God here. We can just stop with the universe, because then the universe can always have existed, and that's the end of the story. So the universe in itself is the one that is independent, and everything inside the universe is then dependent on the universe, which is just putting the stop one step before the theist is doing, before the Dawah is doing. That's all it is.
Well, yeah, essentially their
Yeah,
God
so they-
becomes the infinite regress. In that's the way I look at it, because if their God is eternal and infinite, then that becomes the infinite regress. What was before God? Nothing. It was always God. So it's just moving it out of what we might think of as the temporal zone, the universe we know, and saying, well, that can't be an infinite regress, but essentially our God becomes one. So I don't really
It was
think
like a stop block. It's like, you can't run eternally. So you put a stop block in there saying, well, this is the one that is the cause of everything, which does not require a cause. And this is all they're doing. It's just defining something into existence that is not there, just to put a stop block in there, so that you don't go into the infinite regress, that you don't run into this problem that you need to define somehow where everything comes from. And it just stops them from saying, well, we don't have sufficient information at this moment in time to answer the question. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's actually, so there's different ways you can do this, and it's actually quite a complex topic, because there is a lot more to this with necessary and contingent and how people define this. I've actually listened to some quite sophisticated arguments on this, and it's not easy for most lay people, and including myself, right, to necessarily follow along if you get into the deep nuance of this. But there are various ways you can take it here. But the point is, it doesn't sound to me like Ali Dawah is either backing up the claim. He wants to make a claim there, but we haven't heard an argument for why we have to accept this, right? He's trying to he's eliminated, quote unquote, using his language, the impossible existence. So now we have, the contingent existence, something relies on something else, or we have the necessary existence. This doesn't rely on anything else. It's independent. It's, necessary is like independent of anything else, right? So now what he'd have to do is show that the necessary existence is either the only option or the most plausible option. And there again, Josh Rasmussen is one of the philosophers who pushes this a lot. Now that's a much more nuanced argument. I don't know all of the nuance there, but he wants to say that it must, like you were sort of saying, Stops. He's a theist, he's a Christian, and he wants to say that you can't have an infinite regress. You've got to have this necessary starting point. There's a number of other philosophers that disagree, like Alex Malpass and his colleague, can't think of him, he's quite a famous philosopher. They think that there's nothing that prevents an infinite regress, and they've got the philosophical argument. So it's both sides. But in this case, Ali Dawah would have to present the argument. So we'll see whether he can actually remotely get close to doing that, even in a layman understanding.
But he's just following the hijab script. That's all he's doing.
Yeah, and apparently hijab is supposedly studying, or he's trying to get a degree in I can't think what the term is.
Another degree.
Yeah. He's apparently written a book on the contingency argument, but he didn't know what the PSR is, the principle of sufficient reason. And for somebody who's supposedly writing a book or studying this, that's like a basic premise in the contingency argument. The idea there is everything is supposed to have has a reason for its coming into being, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of people, including myself, do not subscribe to the PSR as a universal principle. And there's some, again, sophisticated reasons for doing that. But he didn't know that, right? So, but I think Ali's way less informed than hijab. To whatever degree hijab is badly informed, Ali is probably a lot worse. So, and I don't think he would know. If I asked Ali, what's the PSR? He wouldn't. He would have
You
no
wouldn't
clue.
know. No.
No.
Well, let's see what he says anyway.
No, but that's it.
Good.
It has to
So-
it has to end at an infinite.
Good. So
We can agree on that.
good.
one.
Good. That's good.
Okay, that's a bit tricky. He said that it has to end in an infinite. That's kind of ambiguous language. Does he mean that an infinite is possible, or does he mean that you can't have an infinite and you must have some ending / starting point? The language of the atheist fellow there, to me at least, wasn't very clear.
But that's
But
what I
let's see, maybe-
understood.
Yeah, so let's just see where it goes.
What I call the stop block.
So you would say that the universe is dependent or independent?
I'd say it's independent.
Good.
I'd say
Perfect. Good. Now me and you have something that we agree on.
I believe so, but
which
I don't
is-
necessarily understand.
Well. Did the atheist just say there
No,
that
he
he
said the
thinks the universe
opposite.
is independent? Did he
That's
say
what
the
I heard.
universe was
He
independent?
said independent.
Yeah, that's
He
what I
definitely
heard.
said independent.
Yeah, okay. But Ali doesn't think the universe is independent. He thinks it's dependent on the creator, right?
He
So how is it that
doesn't
he's agreeing here?
understand this.
Ali's become an atheist without realizing it.
Uh,
Interesting term.
I don't. I think he's confused. I mean, if I was as charitable as possible, maybe the atheist use ambiguous language was also confused Ali. But it can't be the case. If he thinks,
I think he
if the
misheard
atheist,
him.
I think that he's interpreted the atheist to say, that. Well, no, but the atheist said the universe was independent, right? Ali does not think that. If I had to ask Ali or indeed any other Muslim, they're not going to say it's independent, because that would entail that it doesn't depend on anything else, and they think that it depends on Allah bringing it into existence. So how they agreeing here, how Ali thinks there's agreement, is baffling to me.
No, we do. Which is what? That we require something independent. All you've done is ascribe independency to the universe.
Correct.
Now I'm going to prove to you why the universe cannot be independent, and that it is dependent. And if it is dependent, what does it depend on? Which is God. Now, you said the universe is independent. Good. Now,
Did you want to say something there?
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm going to disprove that. How? My definition of the contingent thing is a thing that is composed of pieces, can be any other way, and is dependent on something else for its existence. You said the universe is independent. Is the universe composed of pieces?
Okay, let's just
Can I
stop there for a
pause?
moment. You don't have to take that something is composed of pieces. That's not
Yes.
a necessary condition. Yeah, go
When
on.
has that ever been part of any definition of contingency? That is something he's completely made up, as far as I know, that it has to be.
I mean, maybe somebody has got that, but I mean, he'd have to give an argument why we have to accept that, right? The only thing that you'd have to accept is that it's dependent on something prior, right? That sort of layman language, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
it's
what are the
contingent, in
pieces
other
of an
words, right?
electron? What is an electron made up of? What are quarks made up of? What is he talking about?
Well,
I
he's
have no
just
idea.
introducing this thing that it's got to be composed of pieces. I don't think you have to accept that, or you'd have to give an
No.
argument why you have to accept that. All that you have to accept is that it's contingent or that it's dependent on something else. You know, one of those sort of ideas. I'm not sure that you need to accept anything else. And if he's asking you to accept it, now he has to provide an argument why that's a necessary condition of dependence or contingency. And obviously, he
Yeah,
hasn't
but
done
Rob,
that.
it shows you he doesn't understand it. It's not something that he is cogent. It's not something that he is, consciously formulating while he is thinking about it. He is just learning. It shows he learned something and he's just regurgitating it without understanding what he's doing. This is the problem.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's go.
No,
It's not. You're not a piece of the universe?
No.
Is the sun not a piece of the universe?
it's composed of itself. Everything is the universe.
No problem. Are those things you said in the universe, are they not a piece? Atoms, you, me, tree, sun, planet, are they not?
Okay, everything is.
Are they not a thing?
Yeah,
Good. So
all
they
the
are
things.
good. So they are. The universe is composed of pieces.
All of the pieces.
Perfect.
Everything.
Perfect. Now, can the universe be any other way?
Yes, it could be many different.
Thank you. We can have less galaxies, more galaxies. I could exist. You can
But
exist.
it can be any. It could be any different way once that initial point, the dice roll
The,
started.
the point is this, though. The universe can be any other way. Like, I could have not been here. It would have been a bit boring. The life would be a bit boring. I mean, I'm joking. The point is this. You could have not been here. The trees could have not been here. Our planet could have not been here. So therefore, the universe could be any other way. Number one, we agreed it's composed of pieces. Number two, we agreed that the universe can be any other way. There can be 5 less galaxies or 5 more galaxies. That means that the universe is dependent, because the fact that it can be any other way shows its dependency.
Okay, can I counter, please?
Please.
So I'd say the fact that it's composed of pieces, and all evidence leads us to believe that those pieces can either be created or destroyed, just rearranged in different formats. And the fact that it could be many different ways, which leads us to believe that it could have infinitely rearranged itself in many different ways over an infinite timescale, does not prove that it's dependent. It's as much of an example as why it's independent.
Okay, so there he is kind of he's kind of saying, yeah, that's a bit I don't know how to phrase that. That's a weird way of saying, but I think he's kind of trying to appeal to some sort of necessitarianism. What I think he's trying to say is, well, hey, in the past, the universe could have been different. It's got whatever it's got in it, and maybe in a past iteration, maybe something like the Penrose model, the previous iteration maybe didn't have as many galaxies or whatever the case is, but that's still fine, right? This is why it becomes quite tricky, this topic, because actually
Rob,
the Penrose
you're
model
overthinking.
doesn't. Say again?
You're overthinking it.
Well, no, go.
Sorry, who is? I am or he is?
Rob, go ahead.
No,
Finish
Rob,
this
you are
thought.
overthinking it, because all he's doing is he's saying if the universe is eternal, then all we have is just a different rearrangement of matter, but the matter is the same. It's just it's had infinite time to rearrange itself in a specific way. It could be any other different way also, because it was eternal. That's all he's trying to do. It's a very simple thing. He's just backing up his previous statement that it could be in a different way if you don't go and say, okay, it has a beginning. So,
Oh yeah, I suppose it might be think of it in a way that superficially it looks
exactly
it can be in different ways, but the fundamental core of what makes everything up is still the same. It's
exactly
still that same eternal stuff.
It's very simple, actually, I think.
Yeah, then I think he needs to be. Both of them need to be clear whether they think the universe is, because Ali thinks that the universe is contingent or dependent. It's not clear if the atheist agrees with that claim. From what I can tell, he doesn't agree with that, but he's not explicitly stating it. So what I think he's saying is, no, the universe is necessary or independent, and that all that's happening is in past iterations it's changing. But actually, then he can't really. This is where you say I'm overcomplicating it. I think there's a communication difference here. If he's just saying that the universe in past iterations could have been different, that's fine. That's one thing. But then that also says that the universe is dependent. That's what he's not making clear here. So are you guys agreeing that what he's saying, what he's saying entails by his lights that the universe is necessary? Is that what you guys believe?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's basically saying that the core fundamental stuff, if you like, is the necessary kind of eternal thing, but that can make lots of different superficial arrangements, which represents the universe as we experience it and observe it. That's the way I think he meant it. But I agree with you, Rob. He could have been a bit clearer with his language, I think.
Well, I think we could agree this. Stops, do you agree with this? He's the atheist guy is not saying the universe is contingent on something else. Do we agree with that?
What he's saying is, look, there's a different possibility that it is not dependent on a God that creates this universe, but there is the possibility that it is in fact independent. Now, if it is independent, or if it were independent, the following things would have to be happening or would have to be true. And now he's going into these things to show, yes, it is a possibility. It's a viable possibility because 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think he's just making a case here for the possibility of it not being created and dependent.
Yeah, so not being contingent, but rather dependent or independent. Stops, which one?
That it's not dependent on a God, but independent. In other words, not contingent.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Cool. All right. Cool.
If it is eternal, okay.
Yeah.
Said that shows the dependency, because you've just now said that the first law of thermodynamics is that energy cannot be created or destroyed. We have energy within our universe. No problem. The fact that it changes form doesn't show that it is infinite. It infinitely relies on the
it can never be created.
No. You're missing the point here. When we say energy cannot be created or destroyed, that does not mean that there was not a starting point. For example, we believe in paradise as Muslims, but we believe that the let me finish.
Can I just interject quickly?
Yes.
Can you name one energy source where you can provide a definitive starting point?
The energy itself, our whole universe. That's why I'm telling you.
No. Give me
our universe.
You said it's made up of pieces.
Our universe.
Give me one of those pieces.
Our universe.
Give me one piece.
Very simple.
Give me one piece.
Our universe.
You said it's made up of loads of pieces.
Our universe is our universe made of energy.
No, it's about the universe. You said it's made up of loads of pieces.
Our universe energy.
Just give me one piece.
One second.
One piece of energy.
I'm giving you all the pieces. Not one piece. I'm giving you all of it. I'm being extra nice today.
You want to say something there?
Yeah, this is like total lack of comprehension, because the atheist is saying, okay, look, we have energy. You can't show me one piece of energy, how it started. You can't do that. And Ali Dawah says, well, we can, yeah, because here's the universe, and this is the piece of energy that started. He doesn't understand that the concept of energy not being able to to be created or destroyed or something, but just reformed, entails that it doesn't have a beginning, that you can't have a piece of energy. You can't have no energy and then suddenly the universe comes into existence, and this is the energy of that is contained in the universe. So God created energy in the form of the universe. And the atheist is saying, no, you can't do that. Show me one piece of energy. And of course, Ali Dawah can't. So, but they're talking over each other's heads, because there is no common communication level here.
Yeah, I think Ali Dawah is actually doing a form of begging the question. What the conclusion is that he's trying to show is that the universe had a beginning. He agrees that energy can't be created or destroyed. At least that's what he claims. At least, but then when asked to show that there's any energy that could have a beginning, he points back to the universe again. But that's the exact thing that he's supposed to be
Exactly, that he's
showing.
trying to probe. Exactly,
Had
yeah.
to have a beginning and can't exist all the time. And that's typically like begging the question, right? In your premises, you presume that the universe didn't have a beginning, and your conclusion is the universe had a beginning. That's textbook begging the question.
Patronize. I'm not one. I'm giving you all of them. I'm not here to make anyone
Just
laugh.
because you wouldn't be able to give an example.
No, I do, because I'm giving you the example as holistically. Our universe is composed of energy. The point I'm saying is the following: the fact that energy is a thing, and by the way, there is a set amount. Energy is not infinite in its amount. It cannot be created or destroyed. It changes form. If I take this book, argument's sake, and I set it alight, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's just changed form. I'm totally with that. It helps my point. It changes form, but in itself, it is dependent. The fact that I can burn it, the fact that it changes form, is its dependency. Yes. So now,
because the thing is,
my definition.
because
My
No,
definition.
I mean, I
Into
disagree with that.
this
Again, just
Quran-
the fact that it's changed form, that in itself does not mean that it's dependent on something, because the fundamental molecules that make it up are not changed. It's just a rearrangement of it. So I really don't get that point. And also, another thing he's saying is, oh well, it sounded like he was saying, oh well, the energy can't be infinite because there's a set amount. Well, okay, let's say there is a set amount of energy. I think that generally is what most cosmologists would say, that the amount of energy is not infinite. But that doesn't mean that it can't be eternal within itself. It just means there's a limited amount of it. But that could still be eternal. It could still be infinite in terms of how long it's existed in one form or another. So I think he's conflating two different things there.
Yeah, duration and quantity are two different ideas. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
The masses, the atoms that make up this
Yes.
Quran,
Yes.
were still in existence.
No problem.
14.3 billion years
That's
ago.
fine.
So you're saying it changes form, but it doesn't.
The fact that it
It's just-
changes. No.
You proved your entire point incorrect with that.
It does.
The Quran
It goes from paper.
that you burned
It goes
changes
from
form.
paper. No, it's fine. But it goes from paper to
But
disintegrating.
the atoms do not.
No,
And they have-
no problem. I never said that.
they have been
I never said that. But it still has changed form. It's not paper anymore. Because otherwise, what are you? We all composed of atoms. The point I'm saying is, my definition of contingency was it is composed of pieces and it can be any other way. The universe. Tell me why it is. The universe is composed of pieces and it can be any other way, which shows that the universe is dependent.
Okay. You could
What
have,
does it depend on?
Because you can mathematically prove it. You could have an infinite system made up of a sub-infinite system.
These are speculations. Can you look? I said to you before.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody want to comment there before I do?
Well, it's
you
ironic. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Stops.
No, I said go.
Oh, Rob, you go.
Go ahead.
I was just,
well, you go first. You go first, actually.
yeah, I was just going to say
Because
it was just kind of ironic, just saying, the atheist is just speculating here. Well, that's all that Ali has done so far. He's not actually given any demonstration of his belief that the universe is dependent, other than this rather weird definition of contingency that he's got, that it relies on pieces, etc. So yeah, I just think it's ironic. But yeah, Rob, you go ahead with your point.
Yeah, sorry, I actually forgot my point now. It's all good. We carry on. I'm sure it'll come back to me.
The universe is composed of pieces, and it can be any other way, like you admitted. That is dependency. It is dependent on those factors. Our universe will be.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, the atheist shouldn't have accepted that in the beginning. He didn't necessarily accept it, but he also didn't challenge it strongly enough. Because the question there is, why do I need to accept that that's the definition of dependency, right? So that would be something that then because now Ali is trying to claim that he agreed with those 2 points, and that's how he defines the universe being dependent. And if the universe is dependent, then it depends on something. What's that something? That's obviously where he wants to go to. Now, the atheist could take the view, could accept all of those and say, well, it depends on, prior state of affairs or whatever the case may be. And because Ali wants to go that, well, it depends on God, right? We obviously know where he's going. So the atheist could do that, but he could also just deny that that's an acceptable definition of dependent. That's another way he could go.
Never our universe if those factors were not in place. So therefore, now I've proven to you
Okay,
that
you're saying you
one
prove it,
second.
but let's say the
I have
hypothetical.
1 second. No, I don't do hypotheticals. Now I've proven
Because
to
they
you.
prove you wrong.
No, it doesn't, because it actually disproves you. I've proven to you the universe is dependent. The question is, what does it depend
You
on?
said if something
What he's done, he's claimed it. All he says is, look, I have A and I have B, and therefore it is dependent. But he hasn't shown why this makes something dependent. You can't do that. You can't say it's green and round and therefore it's a car. It doesn't work that way. Come on, you can't just simply claim something and define it into existence the way that you want it to be. That doesn't work.
Unless
Yeah,
you're
and
Ali
that's where the
Dawah.
atheist. That's right, and that's where the atheist, I think, could have challenged him more. Or
Yeah.
the atheist, as I say, could just, okay, I accept that it's dependent. I think he doesn't want to accept it, but I think he's just got to be a bit more clear on why he doesn't accept it. He's kind of said so, but I think it could be more clear.
It can be any other way. Can be any other way.
And can be any other way.
Yes.
That proves it's dependent
Dependency.
and not infinite.
Yeah.
But by definition, an infinite thing, if we're just saying something
No,
that is infinite,
demonstrate infinite. No,
can
show
be
me
made up
what
of
is that thing?
pieces
What
and
is that thing?
change- And change
What
from
is that thing?
infinite.
Show me this infinite. You know, you said to me, show me.
Universe.
No, it's not. The universe, I just demonstrated to you that it is not infinite because it is composed of pieces and it can be any other way. That is not infinity. So therefore, I'm telling you,
But you
it's-
just suppose an incorrect
I'm not.
definition
I'm not.
and said
Tell
that
me.
infinity
Tell me
doesn't
why
work.
it is incorrect. My definition of something that is
Okay,
dependent
Because
is that something that
because
requires
if the universe was
existence.
made up of a sum total of pieces, energy that has been the
Dependency.
same from the start to the end,
Dependency.
and that just rearranges itself over an
Dependency.
infinite time scale, that still is made up of pieces and can be any other way.
And it is still dependent
but
because you
it's
said
still infinite.
no, it's not.
It's still
No, it's
infinite.
not. No, it's not.
Because it rearranges
No,
itself
it's not.
infinite.
No, it's not. It's post-eternal, meaning the following: that at one point it began, post-eternally cannot be created or destroyed. It doesn't take away from the fact that it had a beginning point. You said if we had a set amount of energy, the moment you give a number to energy, it shows its
But
dependency.
you
Well, stop there, Rob.
have-
Stop there, because he's jumped the gun. Because it hasn't been demonstrated that the universe has a start point. Again, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what the Big Bang is talking about. You can take it back to a certain point, whatever it is, one millisecond on the Planck scale, and then we don't know at that point. So that does not demonstrate that the universe had a beginning in the ultimate sense that he means it. So I think that needs to be pointed out, because he's just taking it as read that the universe did have a actual beginning. We don't know that.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
the atheist
we
is
don't.
saying there's a theoretical point can be made that the universe is eternal. And Ali Dawah is saying, no, it can't be, because it cannot be according to him, because then it doesn't require a creator. But he is not able, and Drastic, this is where you are quite right, because he can't argue the point. There is no indication that he can bring up that would substantiate his claim.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that maybe that the universe does have a start point, but it's not been demonstrated. And as Rob has pointed out, there's various different cosmological models which
Exactly.
suggest
Yeah.
essentially an eternal universe. So yeah, he's just wrong on that point.
Yeah. Okay.
You can have a finite series.
No, you cannot.
On an infinite scale. Yeah, I can have an infinite set of the number 2. That's still an infinite scale of 2s. It's a finite scale on an infinite scale.
No.
So finite 2,
No,
infinite,
no.
an infinite number of 2s.
We say
so you can have finite pieces
no.
in the universe
No.
and it be infinite.
No, energy we can say is infinite. In what sense? Forever, it create or destroy. No problem.
Chat if you want to stop.
In itself, in totality, it is dependent. So what I'm saying is in the following. I proved to you and showed to you that the universe is composed of pieces, and the fact that it can be any other way,
But you have not
it
proved
is
it's not
dependent.
infinite.
I have.
No, you
Because the
haven't.
moment, do you accept the universe is composed of pieces?
That could be arranged in an infinite number of ways.
Simple question. Do you agree that the universe is composed of pieces?
That can be arranged in an infinite amount of ways, yes.
No problem. So yes, good. Can the universe be any other way?
An infinite amount of ways.
That is dependency.
It's an infinite dependency then.
Thank you. Infinite dependency, which shows me
Which
that
shows we're both
Yeah, I think that's problematic. It's not. I think that's just sort of, as far as I can tell, at least that's sort of bad language there. And it's either there's a conflation of terms there, or it's a contradiction. So I don't know what the atheist really meant there. If we're charitable, maybe he's just talking about two different categories there. But it's not clear to me that you can have an infinite dependency, because that itself would be kind of independent in some way. So yeah,
No, he's saying if it's infinitely old, if there is no starting, no beginning point for the universe, it can have arranged itself in an infinite possible combination or ways.
There's also issues like, the universe is expanding from all the knowledge we have. That potentially could be infinite. So again, there are certainly characteristics that you could point to that potentially the universe is infinite going forward. So yeah,
that's exactly the point, because what we have with the expanding universe, it's a snapshot. We don't know what happened 50 or 500 billion years ago. So if the universe was or is indeed infinitely old, if we just sort of allow for this theoretical model for the moment, then we don't know what happened. And then it could be that it has gone through an infinite number of different iterations, different way of combinations, and an infinite number of ways it can arrange itself. And that is the only thing that this guy is saying. And Ali Dawah is constantly saying no, 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 but he doesn't really know why he's saying no, no, no. It's just because he doesn't like it. And this is an emotional reaction to a rational thought. That's it. All he's doing is entertaining a thought model where he says, well, it's possible. That's it.
I just think as well, there are several, there's probably dozens, I imagine, of models where you could have an infinite universe or a infinite series of universe. I mean, you've potentially got the bounce model. You've got, one universe giving birth to another, multiverse.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, there's so many different
lots of possibilities,
theoretical ways, which again, I'm not a cosmologist or a mathematician, but they are supposed to be solid theoretical models. So I understand the mathematics is kind of supposed to work, and the so if you can't sort of rule out those possibilities, then yeah, I don't see how it can be as certain as he has, other than it's just a religious indoctrination. But anyway, sorry.
Okay, no. So which shows no, that's fine. Which shows that it infinitely is dependent on what?
That was a joke.
Something
that was a joke that worked very well for me. I love that joke. Now, so infinitely it depends on what? Because you can have an infinite regress of dependent things, because the fallacy of infinite regress. Therefore, what does the universe depend on?
Notice he just ran over that point, the fallacy of infinite regress. He's not demonstrated there's a fallacy there. He's claimed it, but he hasn't demonstrated it. And a lot of atheists do not accept that there's a fallacy with the infinite regress. So yeah, he just slid over that point very quickly.
Yeah.
No.
But again, you can have an infinite scale of numbers.
What does it depend on, bro?
So the scale of even numbers.
I am starting to believe that you just do not want to believe in
can
God.
you let me answer the question?
Please do. Let's talk about guys. I'm not here doing an argument. I'm just trying to be genuine.
Oh, this guy, yeah.
So he gives these weak apologetics that have got more holes in it than Swiss cheese, and then because the atheist is not persuaded by it, it's because he doesn't want to believe in gods. This tired apologetic. I mean, you know, how many times are we going to hear it?
Yeah.
Then how
It
can
is
something be
pathetic.
infinite and also have a dependency?
Yeah.
So let's use a number series, the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, and it goes on infinitely. We all know this.
That's mathematics.
Yeah,
That's abstract.
But it's an infinite scale.
No, I'm so
and
sorry.
it's still dependent. It's dependent on the fact it cannot be odd, but it's still infinite. 2, 4, 6, 8, infinitely.
But no, it's
dependent on the fact it cannot be odd.
No.
A dependency does not mean it cannot be infinite.
Number one, you admitted in that category that you mentioned that it has dependency. Number two, that
I
you
just disproved your argument that dependency.
no, you didn't. You said that number one, it can infinitely go on. No, it cannot. In mathematics, you can call it potential infinite, which means it is going, but you can never look. Infinite has no beginning, has no end. You can't.
Oh, okay. There's one thing, right? You can have an infinite. You can have an infinite that has no beginning but an end. You can have an infinite that has no beginning. Sorry, one that has no beginning but has an end. One that has a beginning but has no end, or one that has no beginning and no end. So there's at least 3 types of infinites there. He's only appealing to one.
Yeah.
You can't add. You can't take away.
Sorry, you want to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with you. Carry on.
Oh, okay.
You're saying 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 forever.
Doesn't make sense.
That it doesn't exist in the real world. In mathematics, there are infinites, but in the real world, it doesn't exist. So that's the reason why I will ask you again. The universe, the universe. No, it's not, brother. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he's just
But again,
claimed that it can't exist in the in reality, right? They're happy to accept the potential infinite, but now they want to put mathematics as a potential infinite. And Cantor showed that you can have infinite sets, right? If you think that is just potential, then okay, you could take that view, I suppose. Somebody could just be a realist about mathematics and say that in fact that's not potential, but it's actual. But if you don't take that particular view, then still it's the case that Ali has to show that it can't be the case. He's just asserted that you can't have an actual infinite, but he hasn't demonstrated it.
And also, yeah, I mean, I'll go back to that example of expanding universe. That is a real world example of something that is potentially infinite, where it's not just maths. It is the fact that the universe could just expand eternally. So that's not something abstract. Okay, it's not been absolutely demonstrated, but I think there's a reasonable evidence to suggest that the universe could be expanding eternally. So,
Well,
that's
thing
not
is-
an
Yeah,
abstract.
but just remember
it's not an
that.
abstract mathematical thing, is it?
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just
Rob,
remember
did
though,
you want to say
Drastic, what he's trying to show is the universe must have had a beginning. So if you as an atheist concede that the universe could be future eternal or infinite, but then you concede that the universe had a beginning, that's all he wants, right? And then he's going to say what got the universe going. So you could appeal to him and say, well, look, there is an infinite, but he could just say, well, that's not the infinite I'm talking about. I'm talking about something can't have a beginning. It can't have a beginningless series of events. It must have had an actual beginning. But you could use that rebuttal that you just said there if he's saying, well, an actual infinite is impossible. All you have to show then is that the universe is potentially future infinite. It's into the future, it'll be infinite. And that would rebut the point that you can't have an actual infinite. What he really should be saying is that you can't have an actual infinite into the past, because William Lane Craig actually thinks you can have an actual infinite into the future. I think he says that, and TDS Dave might be able to correct me or confirm that in the chat there.
Yeah, I think it was just addressing the point more generally because this is rhetoric you constantly get from Dawah apologists, where they'll say there is no infinite outside something abstract like mathematics. And so I was just addressing more that as a general point. Well, actually, we have at least one example, and I think there are others where there could be potentially a real world infinite. But yeah, I take your point. I mean, it's not specifically addressing the past eternal, but just a general point he was making that there was, there's no such thing as a real infinite. Well, we have examples where there could be.
Well, infinite is a concept, okay? But the way that I sort of transpose it and use it in a real world example is if I say we're on a globe. So if you go east, which is also a concept, but you can actually physically walk east, and you will never reach east. So it's an infinite thing where you will never reach east. But that's my way of thinking.
First something, you just say to me, I do not want to believe. Simple. Just say, look, listen, I don't want to believe. Look. No, you do. Because I've just demonstrated to you the universe is dependent, and I've asked you a simple question. What does it depend on? Simple question. What does the universe depend on?
It doesn't depend on anything.
It does, because I just demonstrated to you that it is composed of pieces and it can be any other
You
way.
demonstrated
So
that
now,
energy can be
you cannot have an infinite regress of dependent things. Meaning there has to be a point
No, you
that
have to
it goes
demonstrate.
to rise
So it
to.
has to become infinite.
Yeah.
You
No, it
believe it's
doesn't.
God, I believe it's
No.
the universe.
It can't be the universe, because my definition of an independent necessary being is the following. An independent being cannot be any other way. An independent being is not composed of pieces. An independent being is independent and is necessary. The opposite of that is the universe, because the universe is composed of pieces. The universe can be any other way. The universe is dependent. So now I'm asking you a question.
You can take
Why can it be the universe but not God?
All right.
There
we go.
God.
That sort of ended
Oh
a little
my
bit abruptly, but yeah.
I asked him whether Rishi Sunak was right
Oh,
to
sorry
invite the Chinese government
about
to.
that. Go ahead. Thoughts,
Yeah, I mean,
gentlemen. Thoughts.
There is a second part to this video, but we kind of agreed not to do it because, I have watched it and it basically just rehashes the same kind of flawed arguments, just with Ali being a bit more animated and angry. But it was kind of actually more frustrating watching this video back because he's repeating so many flawed arguments over and over. And I think the atheist probably did agree to some things that he probably shouldn't have done, which kind of left that door open for Ali to repeat those weak claims. So that's kind of it's annoying watching him repeat them over and over. But as far as I'm concerned, he didn't demonstrate that the universe can't be independent, and he didn't even get close to talking about obviously his religious beliefs on it and why it would be a god. And I would just say the atheist, he could have used better language, but overall I thought Ali was terrible.
Yeah, he's really bad. I mean, like the contingency argument in itself is bad, but the way that he presents it is atrocious. There's absolutely no there. I can't understand that anybody will let him loose on mankind on this kind of a level, because he was not able to demonstrate anything.
That's right. And I think remember, what he has got going for him, if I can say that, he's got an extremely gullible and very ignorant audience that will just clap along with whatever right. So he's got that in his favor. So he can talk all any sort of nonsense as long as he's saying it with certainty. Even if the people don't understand it or don't know whether it's right or wrong, they're just going to agree because that's what they do, right? He's Muslim, they're Muslim, they're going to agree. Now, I'm not saying that's the case for every Muslim that does this, but the vast majority that I have come across, that will be the case. But I think, as you guys quite rightly pointed out, he didn't demonstrate that the universe is dependent. And he also didn't demonstrate that you can't have an infinite regress. Both of those claims he didn't demonstrate. But let's suppose that he did demonstrate those two things. Well, the atheist can appeal to something as well. What the theist tries to do is go, no, you can't. God is the special category, and because of certain characteristics of God or attributes, you can't appeal to anything but God. Now, virtually no atheist that I'm aware of has ever accepted that. So suppose they accepted everything else that Ali tried to get him to do and failed miserably. You're still not going to get an atheist to accept that God is the only necessary being or necessary something to bring about this universe, even if you agreed with everything else. So I think, as you guys quite rightly pointed out, I think that was sort of a horrifically bad attempt there by somebody who just really is a terrible apologist and a perfect candidate for the Dunning-Kruger sort of, if they did a second round of the Dunning-Kruger, then somebody like Ali Dawah would be a perfect candidate.
Oh, his picture should be in the dictionary next to that term, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the other day I had a discussion about the contingency argument, and it lasted 5 hours on this. This was but this was a highly intelligent guy who really brought up. He really tried to think. Okay, so he followed everything, And then he processes and he said, yeah, but what happens if this? What happens? And this was fun because it was stimulating. It made me think. I really had to go and really dig deep to find out what he was trying to say and find arguments and find examples where it doesn't make sense and things like that. That's why it took so long. And I mean, we parted friends, and we just, we agreed to disagree, and that was it. And he told me afterwards, this was the toughest discussion he's ever had, and it gave him thought. No, it gave him food for thought, and this is what made him think about this. And he said, I will never use that again. So, he wasn't convinced, but at least he's too scared of it now to bring it up again.
Well, I mean, this is a
Yeah.
problem with these Dawah apologists, because even when they're, doing it this badly, or where they've been refuted a number of times, I mean, this atheist wasn't the best performer, but Ali Dawah has spoken to very bright people like Skydive Phil, who has really nailed him on some of these issues. He never withdraws those bad arguments. I mean, even the whole debacle over the scientific miracle claims, where he's admitting that it's all nonsense, he won't be above still dropping into those arguments if you find someone gullible enough. So there is no honesty in the way that you're talking about with this person you were discussing, where they'll accept an argument may be flawed and at the very least go try to refine it. No, they've got their script, as I said from the start, and Ali Dawah was one of the worst examples of it, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, I have to agree with you.
Yeah.